Hello, in this video I'm sharing my experience using developing Python notebook locally. So before we start, so this is an empty workspace. Let's go back here. I will explain this in a second. Let's run it. Yep, so the way it works, everything is local. Use GitHub, but because I'm mainly I'm the only developer. GitHub is more used as like storage or an archive, not really to create PR and tags and CI/CD and all this stuff. Okay, that was not expected. Basically, token just expired, and then it asked me to log in, which is fine, I guess. Yep. Let's go back to where we were. Yeah. The way it works is I learned something is the Python notebook are awesome, but they end up like in a mess, and you may write a Python notebook, and a couple of months later you even forgot what was like the whole logic. So I find it's much more sustainable to separate the Python notebook itself from the logic. And for ingestion, I just use Python functions and like basically Python script. And for data transformation, I just use SQL. And the thing is to simulate Python notebook in your laptop. It's very easy. You install Python. There is only one library for writing to Delta. It's Delta Lake Python or Delta RS. And for the libraries, you have plenty. You can pick any library you want. The most like maybe now I would say DuckDB and Polars. Personally, I use DuckDB, but feel free to use any library you like. Probably just stay away from Panda. Yeah, so I have this notebook, and because currently DuckDB cannot write directly to Delta, you have to do like two steps. So you write your SQL, and the result, you export the result to Delta Writer, and it's fine. But I just got sick of repeating the same code. I put this small library, so it was written mainly about AI. My contribution was just for testing. And the way it works, and that's the interesting thing about AI, is that I don't necessarily care if it's useful for like put different way. I don't care if it's general purpose, like as long as it's useful for me and my specific workflow, and that's it. That's the only thing that matter, because the cost of developing a new ad hoc solution is becoming like virtually nothing. It's the AI can just generate in no time. Like all I have to do is just describe what you expect and test it. So yeah, the way it works, you pass the workspace name, the Lakehouse, and the schema, and the folder that contain your logic and parameters. So here, because it's local development, I just do like 2 files, and then here you define your workflow. Other system they prefer to use like YAML, but for me, I'm just happy with this format. I may change it later. And here, for example, here it's saying there are 4 jobs. So one run daily, and here every 5 minutes. You can, because it's Python notebook, you can do all kind of fancy logic. You can say, if this run this. If I get this number, do that. It's very simple to express that using Python. So this function will just download data, and you tell the number of days you want. Here, the number of thread. And here it's the Lakehouse. For example, here, when it's SQL, you just give the SQL file name, which is the same as the table name, just for simplicity. And you say append or overwrite. Append will just add data, and here it will just overwrite data. So here append, it's not blind append. You can add more logic. Like here, I'm doing rather incremental append. So I keep a log of all the files in one lake. And instead of doing list, I just read one file. And I check which file was already processed. It's inside the destination table. And every time it will generate new list if there is new files. Otherwise, it will the query will not even run, which is good. So back here, sorry. Let's close it. Yeah, so it will run it and download data and create delta table and build how to say, like summary table, like fact table. But before that, like you need to have one lake. You need to have a lake house. And so I have this function that create lake house if it doesn't exist. And if it exists, it will just ignore it. And it's using the Fabric API. And this functionality, like we had it since day one, but now with coding agent, it's extremely simple. You can just ask any model and say, just create this function, and they do it. So here it will run like the nightly, here the intraday, and again, because it's Python, you can do all kind of fancy logic. And here at the end, just to make sure it works, I just call select from summary. And the thing is, I don't need to write delta underscore scan, because this one is handled by the library. It's like a helper, and it gives you the impression that you have like proper catalog, and which will happen eventually with Delta, but not today. Today, like with DuckDB, you need to, like every time, like if you have a table, you need to say delta scan table. Okay, let's see, go to deploy and see. I hope it did work. Okay, let's see if it works. So yeah, so this one is it's the same library that I use for deployment. And again, this is not like fancy development. It's not like CI/CD from GitHub, or basically it will just it's like publish in Power BI, more or less. So it's just copying data from your local desktop to the cloud. And the same thing, it could create, excuse me, Lakehouse if it doesn't exist, because you don't know that the Python did run at all. And it will copy the logic, the business logic, the SQL and Python script to a folder. But here, and then I will deploy that notebook. And you have option here. You can say overwrite, and then I pass parameters. And the most important parameter actually is the business logic. But I learned something. Like, I'm a huge fan of mounting Lakehouse. It's very convenient because Python program, they think they're dealing with local file system. But the moment you start doing any deployment, it's better to use ABFS. It's more painful, but now with AI, doesn't even the word painful mean anything because the code, you are not writing the code. And the reason is when you do mounting a lakehouse is that you build like strong coupling between your notebook and the lakehouse, and you like it's not a good idea because if you want to deploy from one workspace to another and you want to do fancy stuff, you want this notebook in this workspace talking to another notebook, another lakehouse from anywhere, that using ABFS give you that flexibility. So personally, anytime there is like deployment and there is potentially moving stuff from one place to another, I just use ABFS and not mountain. So yeah, it did deploy. So now let's see if it did work. Okay, let's close this one. Okay, moment of truth. Let's refresh. Okay. Yeah, so let's there we go. Okay, it did run, and that's awesome. So the same notebook, yeah, it will just inject this new parameter. And basically it works the same way when you what's called when you run a notebook using the parameters, using data pipeline, or rather just pipeline. They inject the parameter. That's I got the idea from there. And because it's using the ABFS, as you can see here, nothing is mounted. And it did connect. Yeah, it doesn't show the, you need to see it here in the run. So it did run for like 3 minutes. Yeah, so it did connect. And the beauty of Python notebook, like you get a token, and more importantly, the one lake is next to you, so there is no that latency that you will experience when you do local development. And yeah, there is already token, so it did generate price. So it create table price and SCADA and do ID and calendar. And then the same, it did flash these files. And yeah, we inserted 192,000 rows. So I usually add more files, but for this demo, so I wanted to finish, so I put just 2 files. But in real life, like you should put more, obviously. So let's see if yeah. So we have all our tables here. That's good. And transformation, SQL and Python. Okay, now, so yeah, now we got the covered. Actually, even I put like schedule, but in general, it's better to use the pipeline to schedule a notebook, and the reason is that you can define the timeout, and you can define concurrency. So you can say, I want the job just to run only one instance. I don't want like 3 concurrent jobs. And the second more important reason is the timeout. So if something goes wrong, like if there is something wrong in the code, for example, it happens all the time. Or if your source is slow, it's safer to have a timeout. You don't want a notebook just to stay for 12 hours or something, just consuming your CU. So let's go back to deployment. And because now we have the data, you can just deploy Power BI, and all you need, there is like a whole culture or like subculture, like how to deploy Power BI. For me, I still like the BIM, and for simple reason, because it's just one file. I know probably it's silly reason, but I just like it. And so I create the model using Power BI Desktop, like in a classic way, and then I just get the BIM, and I use this function, and the function, what it does basically, it will rebind because it's using Direct Lake, and Direct Lake, like the beauty of Direct Lake is you can simply change the URL of your source. So instead of calendar in dev, it will be calendar from production, and it will just works as long as the name is the same and doesn't care about the name ID, the table ID. That's all it cares, the table name. And you can change schema and it works. So here it's getting the BIM and building the table relationship. Let's say, okay, there's this schema. Yeah, it took a minute. Keep in mind, I'm writing in the US and I'm living in the other side. So let's refresh. Yep. So we have our model. Yeah, actually. Yeah, I don't even need to. Yeah, so you have the measures and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't have like a lot. No, actually, did they put a measure? Oh, yeah, sorry, it's here. The measures, I put them here. Probably I should, yeah, it doesn't matter. So let's just create a report just to show that it's, no, wait, what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, actually, that's not bad. Um, what's important is the data is correct and the refresh did works, and basically the full deployment works just fine. The point, I think, the takeaway for me, what's important is the idea that to develop to one lake, you need to be inside the fabric. Actually, that's not true. You can run it from wherever you want, as long as you have, obviously, you have fabric capacity and you have access. And as long as you can use a token, then it's fine. Previously, it wasn't obvious for a business user, but now with LLMs, it's the easiest thing ever. Just use any even free LLM, and they explain, tell how it works. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for listening. Bye.